Hey, it worked. There we are. We're
There
live.
we
We're
go.
live.
I'm
Hey, folks.
Paul.
There's Paul. I'm Adam. We have a new member intro today. Thanks for joining us, Robert Lindsley. Tell folks a little about yourself, where you are, where you usually are, and what you're up to.
Yeah, hey guys. First off, thanks for doing this. I just wanted to give a big shout out to you guys for everything you're doing with social media and the classes that you're doing and the
Well,
course
that's nice.
materials. You guys
We
rock,
didn't even tell him
and
to say this.
Yeah,
you
this is send this
you
guy a
can
mug.
you can
Send
send the
this guy a
check to
mug.
me later.
Yeah.
That's
No,
nice.
really, thank you guys. It's great to get this kind of platform to talk to other members and getting on your webcasts where you're talking through like specifics, very detailed stuff. It's really helpful. So thanks.
Oh,
Well, that is
well,
very nice
appreciate
of
the
you to
feedback,
say.
man. We hope that was what was happening, but we really have no idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
but there's a downside to getting criticized, but at least somebody's paying attention. But when
Right.
you get something nice, I mean, that's even better.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's great.
Well,
Cool.
thank you. So introduction, my name is Robert Lindsley. I have been in the real estate business for about 7 years. My focus is multifamily apartment buildings. I met Adam and Paul through Josh Cantwell. I'm a member of his mastermind, and he's really big into buying multifamily apartment buildings. And so I've been with him for about a year, and that led me to you guys. And so really focused on the multifamily space. Anything, I would have said pre-interest rate hikes, I would have said I was focused on 50 units and higher. And now it's more like, 25 maybe and higher. Really focused in the Central Florida area. So I'm looking at areas like Ocala, Orlando, Sanford, if you know the area, Gainesville, kind of all the way up to even potentially Tallahassee if there was a good deal that happened there. I used to be really obsessed with the Space Coast, kind of Titusville down in that area. But insurance rates have gone so crazy there
Yeah, that's tough.
that
Yep.
you are just looking at, you're spending more on your insurance than you are in your mortgage in a
Yep.
lot of cases. And so I've kind of shied away from that area until we can figure out what to do with insurance down here. But yeah, really focused in the multifamily space, 25 units or higher. Right now we have two buildings. We actually have one in Connecticut. That was our first building. And then we bought a second building down in Florida. And our goal is to buy sort of undervalued properties that are in distress, renovate them, get the rents up higher, and then refinance, pay out our investors. And you guys know the drill on that.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
love
great.
it.
So, a good portion of Florida. You're up in Connecticut. Any other markets you're in?
Right now, it's just Connecticut and Florida. So,
Good. Yeah.
Connecticut, I'm actually in a really like offbeat town. And if you know Connecticut at all, there's a town called New London, and New London is kind of on the coast of Connecticut. So if you're going up 95 between New York and Boston, it's about halfway. And we're in a little town called Norwich, just off of New London. So you may have heard of Foxwoods Casino or Mohegan Sun Casino in that area.
Cool.
We're right in that area,
Nice.
and it's a small apartment building. It's only 7 units. It was actually my first acquisition. We were living in Boston at the time, and we were looking at buying a place in Boston, and just for a 2-bedroom apartment, it was going to be like $800,000. And so we're like, well, this isn't going to work. So what can we do, to maybe buy something a little bigger that's close to us? And we found this property. It was a 7-unit apartment building, and it was seller financing. So we came up with the closing costs and worked with the seller, got everything sorted out, and we started making money right out of the gate.
Wow.
So the building, I think when we bought the building, it was grossing about $4,000 a month, not a lot, but then we brought it up to like $7,000 a month. And we just sort of looked at it and said, wow, this is a really good business. And if we can scale this by buying more apartments, then that would just, obviously mean, more revenue.
Yeah.
So we started looking, and then that's when we found the property in Central Florida, which was a 24 unit. And we bought that building. We had a motor. In fact, the broker was trying to block us from buying the building because he wanted like all of these deposits to even look at the building, and he wanted an LOI. So I looked at the tax records and I found the owner who happened to be in Rhode Island. And I was in Boston at the time. So I'm like, I'll give this guy a call. So I just called him on the phone and started talking to him and made friends with him. And he's like, Robert, I would love for you to get this building, get down to Florida, look at it, make an offer. And the whole thing, like, we got on a plane, went down, looked at the building, and within 3 days, we had an offer in place.
Dude, love it.
Yeah, and we were so fortunate to be able to buy it.
You're a man of action. That's really cool,
That's
man.
right.
That's awesome.
Gotta keep motion.
Yeah, do it today, not tomorrow. That's sweet.
Yeah,
you'll do the brokering. Thank you very much.
Oh,
Yeah,
the brokers.
exactly.
The brokers always end up being their worst enemy,
They really do, and I see it all the time.
All the time.
They put all these requirements in place, and less so now, but because there are fewer deals and fewer people buying those deals. But brokers, they can really get in their own way, and you kind of need to coach them along sometimes.
Yeah, and I often wonder how many offers from potential buyers aren't even sent to sellers. There's a lot of desperate situations that maybe someone lists something at X, and then someone makes an offer at 30% discount. Like I think a lot of times that isn't getting sent along like it probably should be. So.
Yeah, I agree. I see it. They're just like, I'm not even going to show this, because that makes them look bad to the seller, right? If they start getting lowball offers.
Right. Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Well, good. And then just wondering, you mentioned you're in the multifamily. Any other asset classes you're looking at? What else are you up to? Anything else?
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like in this market, you really need to be adaptable to different situations. So while my primary focus is multifamily, I would definitely be looking at even like self-storage or mobile home parks. I used to be obsessed with mobile home parks. And it feels like a lot of those deals are gone, but I'm actually calling on one today, a 36 unit mobile home park. And then also part of what attracted me to your guys's course was a friend of mine in Israel. He is absolutely obsessed with subject to properties. Every time I talk to him, he's talking about subject to.
Sure.
And I'm like, Neil, I don't know about subject to. It feels like it's really risky because the bank could come in and call the note. And he's like, no, Robert, you can't worry about that. You got to just focus on getting the properties. Yeah. And so I saw you guys with subject to as one of your course, one of your sessions. And I was like, well, everything else is super valuable, but I have to be there for the subject to stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and what's funny, and hopefully you picked up on this during our discussion, is that it's not very complicated. You're just it's like buying anything, but it's encumbered with something already on it. And of course there's some risk on that, but banks are in the business of making money on their investment, not taking it back and then flipping. And it seems kind of strange for to think about that as somebody that does real estate, right? It's like, well, you see an opportunity, then you take advantage. But like these banks are at such a size that they're just not going to have a wing to the bank that flips properties that they end up taking back in foreclosure. It's just not a good business model for them. And they don't want to make it any more complicated, because most people that turn themselves into the bank, right? Like they do their own seller finance, or they just lend money. They don't ever want to go back to tenants and toilets, usually. So it's the same thing for a bank. The bank's not in the business of trying to catch people breaching a contract and going after the property. So, but it happens, of course. So
yeah. I think what was it, like somebody? I was watching this YouTube channel where somebody was saying, I've done like 500 subject twos and like 4 of them have been called by the bank, and he's like, and that's actually pretty high.
Yeah, and what happens a lot of times is that something occurs, like a divorce or some sort of trigger mechanism. Someone passes away and then the bank looks, because like if someone passes away, the bank is going to look at title, because they'll get notified that a death took place on one of their borrowers, and they'll look at it, and then they'll have to hire probate because they need to put their creditors' notice in on the inevitable probate. So that's probably about the most likely. Then there's certain loans that happens, like on a commercial deal, if it's a Fannie or Freddie loan, they keep a close eye on those. So if it's that sort of product, you're not going to want to do it on a commercial deal. You'll want to do something else, like a membership transfer.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great thing, and it's something I need to do more of, but I'm not a man of action. So
Yeah, it's
Working on
funny
it.
because I have a Freddie loan on one of my apartment buildings, and they are constantly,
they're up your ass, right? Yeah.
oh my God, it's brutal. I
Yeah.
was like, I didn't know I was signing up for this,
Yeah.
but it's,
Yeah. And once you're thinking, well, I finally got through the loan, because the loan process from start to finish to close it is a complete nightmare. They want to know who your grandmother's brother was. I mean, they want to know everything. And then you're like, oh, I closed, but it's the ongoing maintenance of the thing, the check-ins. That is a real pain in the butt for sure.
yeah. And for me with my Freddie loan, we only got our Freddie loan for like 1.1. So it was pretty close to the smallest Freddie
Yep.
loan that you possibly could get.
Doesn't matter.
And you get sort of forced into this. Like, I could have taken a $48 million loan,
Yep.
and I would be in the same exact process,
Same
but I don't
exact
have the
thing.
staff to support it. So they're always asking for my T12s and my books. And I'm like, this is me doing this, right? It's not, I don't have somebody I just asked to do this.
Right. Yeah.
But
Let
it
me
doesn't
get my
matter to them.
assistant over here.
Yeah, exactly. Hello.
Yeah. That's right. Housekeeping. Yeah, man, that's cool. Good to know though.
Yep. One other thing like that is just who or what you're looking to get out of the group. Is there anybody you're looking to connect with? Anything in the group you're looking for? Let people know.
Yeah, I think that really anybody in Central Florida, I would love to meet with them if they're in the Orlando area or even over in Daytona or Tampa or whatever. I'd love to meet with them and talk to people and see what they're up to. I'm looking for, of course, deal flow and investor money. So if there are anybody in the group that has lines into that, I'd love to talk with them. I'm redoing my website right now. That's going to be a more sort of investor focused website. And so definitely looking for those two pieces. And honestly, if anybody feels like they can bring value as a GP on a project, these projects are big projects. You've got to do renovations, and you've got to focus on the finances and all that stuff, and even beyond acquisition. So, I would love to meet people that are in that space.
Cool. So we're going to ask you to put your contact info in the comments on the actual deal structure page after this post. So that's probably the best way, whatever works for you, for people reaching out. Finally, wrap up with tell us a little bit about your deals outside of real estate, what you're up to. Tell people about yourself.
Yeah. So I got started in the video game business actually when I was 15 years old. How about that?
Wow.
Yeah. So I was a little kid working as a programmer on these insanely big games before your time, I'm sure, but King's Quest and Space Quest and Leisure Suit Larry and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course.
And then I went to Microsoft and I worked there for about a decade working on the original Xbox. I was on the original Xbox launch team.
Holy moly.
Yeah. I worked I moved to New York and I worked for Atari. I worked there for a few years. I launched Ghostbusters, the video game.
Oh my gosh, awesome.
Was awesome because I got to work with Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray and all those guys.
Wow.
And there I was actually the executive producer. So I kind of went through the ranks. So I was exec producer of a $110 million project for Atari. And that was just the development budget. And moved to Boston and worked on Rock Band. So I was executive producer. I was executive producer of Rock Band 3, Rock Band Green Day I worked on. Wow. Yeah, I had like 25 producers working for me at Harmonix, which was awesome because the very first day that I showed up, they said, "Okay, Robert, you're executive producer of Rock Band Green Day," and I was like, "Green Day, huh?" And it coincidentally in 1989, I got in a fist fight with the drummer of Green Day.
No way.
So I had to go into a room as executive producer of Rock Band Green Day, and MTV, they were howling when they found out about this fist fight. And they're like, "You have to tell them about this." So I had to hand them their royalty advance check. So I slide the royalty advance check across the table, and I'm like, "You guys may not remember me, but we actually got in a fist fight in 1989 at the Fresno Gay and Lesbian Community Center."
That is wild.
And it was their first tour. And so it's been a really, really fun career.
What a cool thing, man. People ask me what I've done. I'm like, I'm just a lawyer. You get to punch people in the face. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. And get
And
paid
then
for
pay
it.
them later on.
Yeah. Dude, that's great.
So wait a minute. Before we move on, is this anywhere? Can we see? Is this an MTV show? You said?
No. This was
Okay.
this was my life.
Okay. No, but I mean, you mentioned
The
MTV.
interviewer.
This was not a show or anything when you met Green Day.
Oh no. This was it was 5 bands that were playing at this, and I was living in Fresno at the time, and it was this community center, and it was like the late 80s. I think it was like 89. And so I went to this punk rock show because when I was a kid, I was into punk rock and stuff. And so went there, and they were playing, and then they came off the stage. And I walked up to Trey Cool and I said, I go, hey, man, I know this is your first tour, but you guys are really doing great. You guys are going to have a really good tour.
That's nice.
And he looks at me, he goes, you're fat.
Wow.
I go, whoa, what? And he goes, you heard me. Do you want to go? And, I'm 15, 16 years old. And I'm like, as a matter of fact, I do want to go. So we start throwing punches, and his band pulls him off of me. And all my buddies pull me off of him, and the lead singer Billy Joe, thank you, comes up to me and he says, "I'm so sorry. Every show we play, Trey Cool picks a fight with somebody, and it's really awful, and I really apologize." So I go in, I'm like, "F you and F your effing band. I will never give you a dime of my money."
Well, it's true. It wasn't your money, right? So
it wasn't my money. It was it was a very hefty advance on royalties.
Yeah.
But at least it wasn't my money.
Oh my gosh, what a story!
But I could
That's
imagine
really cool.
if this were today, it would have been all over social media. But no, in the 80s, nobody had cameras.
Nope. And you would have got paid as a 16-year-old getting punched in the face by somebody.
Yeah.
And punching him in the face.
Yeah, in your face, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you get him at least? Did you get him once?
I did, yeah, absolutely. Dude, oh no, nice. It wasn't long. I mean, I think we were fighting for probably 30, 45 seconds. But when you're in it, it feels like, yeah, I got him. But that just shows how immature I was as a 15-year-old. I am not that immature now.
Yeah, that's right.
And I'm too old. I couldn't take a punch now.
No, I've never gotten punched in the face. So knock on wood.
Yeah. Let's keep it that way.
Yeah, I hope to die that way. So
I would say, as far as like what I'm up to now, besides real estate, I do advise a couple of companies in video games because I've just been in it so long and done so many big projects. So working with a few companies just sort of on their advisory board. I was doing VR for a little while, so I'm on a VR board and just talking through, like, working with them on business plans and stuff like that. Yeah. But mostly focused in this, and I got out of the video game business because I thought about, like, what's the future of the video game business for me personally? Like, how am I going to retire in the video game business? And it's not really a thing. Like, you have your 401k, but it's not like you have this big chunk of money sitting in your bank account when you're in video games, really, no matter what level you're at. Yeah. So I thought about, well, how can I fund my retirement? What can I do? And that's when I started looking into real estate. And that's when I came across Josh and started talking with him. And so now I feel like I've been in it for, 6 years. And I feel like, you build that nest egg and then you acquire more properties and continue to build that nest egg and really, get a chance to take care of your family.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Josh Cantwell, for those who don't know Josh, he's got a good group.
Yeah, he's great.
He's a good guy to follow on social media. He'll make you feel bad about yourself. He'll kind of yell at you a little bit, but he's doing
I've had that yell.
He's doing it in good faith. He's an intense guy.
Yeah, he's a coach for his kids volleyball, and so he's always coaching. So I think he approaches it sort of like a coach, and sometimes he's like, well, I need to kind of just. And I wouldn't even call it yelling. I would say very passionate.
Yeah,
and
I'll call it yelling. So.
And then I just go like this. I go, yes, I know I'm not doing enough, Josh.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, no, good guy, Clevelander. So can't go wrong there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, good, man. We appreciate all the time. Thanks for the kind words. We look forward to seeing you around the group for sure. And tomorrow night we got another round of deal structure course talking I think we have to finish up JVs, but also syndication education. So educate folks on how to syndicate deals. So
yeah, that's great. That's great. And I have last week to catch up on as well. So
I should probably. I wonder if I posted last week. So I got to do that if I didn't. So.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, no, I definitely need to catch up on that because I was taking some time off during the break.
Bo appreciates your stories. We do too.
Thanks, Bo.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of the day.
Excellent. I'll post my contact details once this goes on Facebook, and hope to hear from some people.
Thanks, Robert.
Thanks, buddy.
Excellent. Thank you, guys.
Bye.